She inherited a farm that was on the verge of dying, and then a stranger appeared next door. What he did changed everything. Eleanor Hayes stepped off the dusty stagecoach in the blistering heat of Wyoming territory, her boots crunching against the parched earth like brittle bones underfoot. The year was 1887, and the wind howled through the skeletal remains of what was once her uncle's thriving ranch. Fences sagged like defeated soldiers, the barn doors creaked open to reveal empty stalls, and the field stretched out in barren waves of cracked soil where corn should have waved tall. She clutched the fated deed in her gloved hand, her heart pounding not with excitement, but with the dread of a woman who had traded the bustling streets of Chicago for this godforsaken wasteland. Her uncle's letter had arrived like a ghost from the past. Scribbled in a trembling hand, begging her to come before the bank foreclosed. Now he was buried 6 feet under, and she was the sole heir to a curse disguised as inheritance. As the stagecoach rattled away, leaving her alone with her trunk and a rifle she'd never fired, Eleanor scanned the horizon. That's when she saw him, the stranger. He stood motionless on the adjacent property, a silhouette against the setting sun, his wide-brimmed hat casting shadows over a face she couldn't quite make out. He didn't wave, didn't approach. Just watched. A chill raced down her spine despite the heat. Who was he? And why did his presence feel like a storm cloud gathering over her already doomed fate? That first night, Eleanor barricaded herself in the ramshackle farmhouse, the wind whispering threats through the cracks in the walls. She lit a single lantern, its flickering light dancing across yellowed letters from the bank, demands for payment on loans her uncle had drowned in whiskey to forget. The farm was mortgaged to the hilt, cattle rustled away by outlaws or starvation, and the well had run dry months ago. She paced the creaking floorboards, her mind racing. How could she, a city-bred seamstress with soft hands and no kin left alive, turn this around? Sleep evaded her, broken only by the distant howl of coyotes. Or was it something more sinister? Dawn broke with a gunshot that shattered the silence. Eleanor bolted upright, heart slamming against her ribs. Grabbing the rifle, she crept to the window, peering out into the misty morning. There, in her barren field, lay a coyote, dead as stone, a bullet hole clean through its skull. And beyond it, the stranger, rifle slung over his shoulder, mounting a black stallion without a backward glance. He rode off toward his own spread, leaving her breathless. Was it a warning? Or protection? The questions gnawed at her as she buried the beast, the earth yielding reluctantly to her shovel. Days blurred into a relentless grind. Eleanor hauled water from a distant creek, her back aching, blisters forming on palms unused to labor. She mended fences with wire that cut like betrayal, and planted seeds in soil that mocked her efforts. Neighbors were scarce, whispers in town spoke of the Hayes farm as cursed, plagued by droughts and rustlers. But the stranger? He remained a ghost. She'd catch glimpses, him repairing his own barn, silent as the grave, or riding the perimeter at dusk, eyes scanning the hills like a man hunted. One evening, as thunderheads boiled on the horizon, a rider approached, fast, kicking up dust like a demon. Eleanor froze on her porch, rifle at the ready. The man reined in, his face scarred and twisted into a leer. Miss Hayes. Name's Harlan Crow. I represent the bank. Time's up on that loan. His eyes raked over her like she was livestock. Sell to me, or we'll take it by force. Her blood turned to ice. This is my land. I'll pay what's owed. He laughed, a sound like gravel in a tin can. With what? Ghosts? Your uncle owed more than this dirt's worth. He leaned closer, breath foul with tobacco. Heard there's silver in them hills. Sell, or regret it. As he spurred away, Eleanor glimpsed the stranger again, watching from his fence line, hand on his holster. That night, lightning cracked the sky, and rain pounded the roof like fists. But in the storm's fury, she heard hooves, multiple sets, circling the house. Rustlers? Or Crow's men? She gripped her rifle, peering into the darkness. A shadow moved, and she fired, missed. Gunfire erupted in response, bullets splintering the doorframe. She dove to the floor, terror clawing her throat. Then, more shots, from outside, precise and deadly. Screams pierced the night, followed by thundering retreat. Morning revealed 2 bodies in her yard, faces she didn't recognize, branded with outlaw tattoos. The stranger? Gone, as if he'd never been. But tracks led straight to his property. Who was he, this silent guardian? And what price would she pay for his intervention? Eleanor's resolve hardened like the sun-baked clay. She rode into town the next day, a dusty speck called Willow Creek, where saloons belched piano music and eyes followed her like predators. At the general store, she bartered her mother's locket for seeds and tools, ignoring the pitying stares. "That farm's done for," the clerk muttered. "And that neighbor of yours? Silas Black. Came out of nowhere last year. Don't talk much. Folks say he's running from something bad." Silas Black. The name sent a shiver through her. Back home, she worked until her muscles screamed, but the farm whispered defeat. Crops wilted, the well spat mud. One afternoon, as she wrestled a stubborn plow, a shadow fell over her. She whirled, hand on her hip where a pistol now hung, courtesy of town gossip and necessity. It was him. Silas. Up close, he was taller than she'd imagined, broad-shouldered under a worn duster, his face chiseled and scarred, eyes the color of storm clouds. He said nothing, just handed her a canteen of fresh water, from his well, she realized. Then, without a word, he took the plow reins and guided the mule through the field, his movements efficient, almost graceful. She watched, stunned. "Why?" she called. He paused, glanced back, those eyes piercing her soul, then continued. By sundown, half the field was turned. He tipped his hat and vanished across the boundary line. That act ignited something in her, a spark of hope amid the ashes. But suspense lurked like a coiled rattler. Nights brought dreams of shadowed figures, and whispers of silver veins in the hills, her uncle's mad obsession that drove him to debt. Could it be true? She pored over his journals by lantern light, maps scribbled with frantic notes. "The vein runs under Black's land," one entry read. "He knows. Beware." Her heart skipped. Was Silas after the silver? Protecting her, or positioning himself? Harlan Crow returned with reinforcements. 3 hard men with badges pinned crookedly, bought by the bank. "Foreclosure notice," he snarled, slapping papers on her table. "Vacate by week's end, or we'll burn you out." Eleanor's hands trembled, but she stood tall. "This is theft. Law's on our side, sweetheart." His grin was predatory. As they left, one man lingered, whispering, "Heard your neighbor's a killer. Shot his own brother back east. Careful who you trust." The revelation hit like a bullet. Silas, a murderer. That night, she confronted him, crossing the fence under a full moon. His cabin was sparse, lit by a single candle. He opened the door, expression unreadable. "Is it true?" she demanded. "Did you kill your brother?" He stared, then stepped aside, gesturing her in. Inside, on a table, lay a wanted poster, yellowed, with his face. "Wanted for murder, Silas Black. Reward $500. Her breath caught. He finally spoke, voice gravelly from disuse. "Not my brother. My partner. He betrayed me. Stole our claim, left me for dead. I tracked him. Justice, not murder." But his eyes held shadows deeper than that. "Why help me?" she pressed. "The farm, it's tied to mine. Your uncle found silver. Crosses both lands. Crow wants it all." Shock rippled through her. So it was true. But as thunder rumbled, a rifle cracked outside. Ambush. Silas shoved her down as bullets shattered windows. He returned fire, precise and lethal. In the chaos, she grabbed a gun, firing blindly. Hitting one attacker. When silence fell, bodies littered the yard. Silas was wounded, blood soaking his shirt. "Go," he rasped. "They'll come back." But she wouldn't leave. Tending his wound by firelight, she uncovered more scars, whip marks, bullet holes. "Who are you really?" she whispered. "Was a marshal once. Undercover. Blew my cover, family killed. Been running since." The confession hung heavy, suspense building like a noose. Together, they fortified the farms, merging efforts. Eleanor learned to shoot, to ride, her soft hands callousing into strength. Crops sprouted under shared water, cattle returned, bought with hidden savings Silas revealed. But Crow wasn't done. Whispers in town spoke of a gang assembling, outlaws hired to raise both properties. One dawn, Eleanor woke to smoke, her barn ablaze. Flames licked the sky, horses screaming. She raced out, bucket in hand, but it was futile. Silas appeared, galloping from his side, dousing flames with blankets soaked in his well. In the ashes, they found a note, last warning. "Silver's ours." Fury ignited in Eleanor. "We fight back." Silas nodded, a rare smile ghosting his lips. They rode to the hills, following her uncle's map. Deep in a cave, glinting in torchlight, silver veins, thick and promising. But as they mined a sample, rocks shifted. Trap. An explosion rocked the cave, boulders tumbling. Silas pushed her clear, but was buried under rubble. "No," she screamed, digging frantically. Hours later, she pulled him free, alive, but broken. Dragging him back, she nursed him, their bond deepening into something unspoken, charged with tension. Recovery was slow, suspense mounting as scouts reported Crow's gang approaching, 20 strong, armed to the teeth. "They'll hit at nightfall," Silas warned, loading rifles despite his pain. Eleanor stood vigil, heart thundering. As stars emerged, hooves echoed like doom. Gunfire erupted, bullets whizzing like angry hornets. She fired from the window, dropping 2. Silas, from the roof, picked off more. But they were outnumbered. A dynamite stick sailed through the air, exploding the porch in a fireball. In the blaze, Eleanor was thrown back, vision blurring. Crow advanced, laughing. "End of the line, Missy." But Silas leaped from the shadows, tackling him. They rolled in the dirt, fists flying. Crow drew a knife, slashing wildly. Silas dodged, but took a gash across the arm. Eleanor, recovering, grabbed her rifle, aimed. The shot rang out, Crow crumpling. Leaderless, the gang fled into the night. But as dawn broke, Silas collapsed, poison on the blade, Crow's final trick. Panic seized her. "Hold on." She rode hell-bent to town, fetching the doc. Hours of agony followed, Silas' delirium revealing more, "The silver, not for me. For you. Your uncle, he was my friend. Promised I'd protect his kin." Tears streamed as the doc worked. Miraculously, Silas pulled through. In the aftermath, they claimed the silver legally, paying debts, rebuilding. The farms flourished, merged into one. But the biggest shock came months later, under a harvest moon. Silas knelt, ring in hand, her mother's locket, redeemed. "Marry me?" She gasped. "But you're past. Forgiven. New start." Their kiss sealed a fate changed forever, from dying ashes to enduring fire.